Oh my God. I legit want to eat all of these. What is up, Foodie fam, and welcome back to the channel. We are on week 4 of the matchup mashup, week number 4. Last week was absolutely fantastic. I loved it. But I'm so much more excited for this week. It has some of my favorite flavor combinations that exist in the entire world, on top of it pairing with my favorite meat. But first, a word from our sponsors. If you're not using Under the Sea seafood seasoning for all of your seafood goods, then you. Well, that was weird. Anyway, grab all these things. Every MVP needs its sidekick, so we're going to use Under the Sea with Texas Crunch this time. We're also going to pair up, use White Lightning with Low Country Gold. A lot of crab recipes are going to tell you that you have to use lump meat. You can just use claw meat or anything that you can get your hands on. Except imitation. Don't use that trash. I personally think things like red onion and the red bell pepper that you're going to see me cut up here pretty soon are key to crab cakes because it's going to add some texture to them. Crab cakes can get pretty soft, so adding red onion and red bell pepper, or even if you want to throw in some celery or some jalapeno or some peppers, it's just going to add a nice little texture to it while you're eating. Fresh crab is king, but I'm never going to complain about crab out of the can. It's still very, very tasty. It's a little bit less work, and it's definitely going to be cheaper for you. The one thing that you really have to do with canned meat, though, is you have to go through it, break up the big clumps, and make sure that there isn't any shell in there. There aren't many worse things than getting a big old crunch in a crab cake when you're not expecting it. Your teeth will thank me later. Let me be completely transparent. Growing up in a small town in Wisconsin, I didn't have access to a whole lot of seafood outside of lake and river fish. But once I left that small town, I realized that crab is the best. That roasted garlic flavor from Texas Crunch mixed with Under the Sea, which is a New England style seasoning, is just absolutely spectacular. I'll write the measurements down in the comments, but the beauty of these crab cakes is you can just kind of measure with your heart. Get you some of that blue cheese, baby. But cheese doesn't belong with seafood. Yeah, that's the whole point of matchup mashup. Deal with it. I like to get everything incorporated before I add the breadcrumbs. This makes sure that you don't get big pockets of dry crumbs while you're eating. I like to test the moisture with my hands to see if I need to add any more breadcrumbs. This helps you know that they're going to stick together when you get to cooking them. You know the moisture is right when nothing is really sticking to your hands, but when you do put them together, the crab cake isn't falling apart. Like the Ravens defense against the Cowboys in the second half. Come on, Harbaugh, what are you even doing? I didn't really measure out the weight or anything like that, but when I got to forming these, it came out to about 10 crab cakes, which is about perfect appetizer size. If this is more of a main meal for you, you can definitely double up the size with absolutely no issue. I personally like to cook my crab cakes in butter because it adds a nice nutty flavor when that butter starts to get brown. But you can absolutely use any oil that you want, or if you're using a grill or an air fryer, any of that stuff works too. No matter what you're using to cook these, you need to make sure that it's preheated. If you don't do that, if you don't hear that sizzle on the grill or in your cast iron, you're doing it absolutely wrong. You need to hear the sizzle, or it's going to be oily, it's going to be gross. Just do better. Let it heat up. Patience is a virtue. Learn it. You can see here the texture is absolutely perfect. You have to be a little bit delicate with these or they're going to fall apart. They shouldn't be dense rocks. They should be nice and soft, just a pillowy texture. Speaking of dense, how about the Ravens taking their foot off the pedal when they were up 28-6 and still almost losing the game? What a joke. Anyway, here's that Buffalo Aioli. You're going to start with the best Alabama white sauce in the entire nation. Amazon even told us so. We were number 1. No big deal. You're going to throw in equal parts of that Alabama white sauce with equal parts Red Hot Wings Buffalo. Frank's is the best. It's my favorite. It's really hard to beat. Because we're making some seafood, I decided to throw in a little bit of lemon juice as well, just to add a little bit of zest to it. Mix that up nicely, and then we're going to get to plating. This one is definitely more on that Couchgate side, so I pulled out the fine china for this one. Now, don't get me wrong. You can absolutely make this at a regular tailgate. Just throw down a nice paper plate and you're good to go. Throw down 3 of those crab cakes and instantly top them with that Buffalo Aioli. You can really load it up if you want. It's not overpowering. I'll be honest with you. The one thing that I was worried about with the blue cheese is because of how strong it is and how much crab just can get overpowered by flavors. I can't believe how perfect the flavor profile was together. That sweet crab, a little bit of funk with that blue cheese. It was absolutely fantastic. These aren't super big, so it's really easy to eat a lot of them. Here's that cross cut, and here's me dropping it like an idiot. Let's go. Could you imagine showing up to a tailgate or a couchgate, and this is what you get to eat? Buffalo and blue cheese is one of my favorite flavor combinations in the entire world. The sweetness from the crab and a little bit of spice from the buffalo sauce mixed with white lightning for that just like apple cider vinegar, nice little pop. And then you get that little funk of blue cheese, which pairing that with the sweetness of the crab meat, it's f***ing spectacular. This is one of my favorite things that I've ever made. There's so much crab meat in this, it's barely held together. I mean, there's a nice little crunch from the red onion and the red bell pepper. I'd eat these all day, every day. The awesome thing, you can pan fry them, you can throw them in your air fryer. There's so many ways to cook these. Screw the people that say, don't put cheese with seafood. The blue cheese on here really is the thing that takes it over the top and makes it more ridiculous than anything. I know I put them on a fancy plate. They don't need to be on a fancy plate. Could you imagine walking through a parking lot and you seeing these on a paper plate in a parking lot? Just some blue cheese buffalo crab cakes. Good work, Tailgate Foodie. You're killing it. Good job. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel if you like this content. We're going to keep rolling with these matchup mashups. And the reason for liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing is we are doing that giveaway for the All-Star Grill Kit, which this entire series, we've been using one sauce and one seasoning per recipe out of this box. So you get these 3 sauces, you get these 3 seasonings. It's a perfect flavor combination. It covers all your major proteins. And let's be real, it's just absolutely fantastic flavors. So don't forget to do all those things, and we'll see you next week.